Today on the DML News podcast, more on the horrible, tragic events in Washington, D.C. with the aircraft colliding into, was it a collision or was it really done on purpose? Yeah, mark my words. Watch what I say. We're going to talk about that. We're going to also talk about Kash Patel and Tulsi Gabbard and RFK Jr. We've got a lot to go over today, a lot of clips for you. It's going to be a powerful show, so get ready because it's all unfiltered.
Dennis Michael Lynch gives you his word, and he will never let you down. He will always fight for America.
The only one who really puts his money where his mouth is Dennis Michael Lynch.
Hello, I'm Dennis Michael Lynch, and I thank you for joining me today. Across from me is my son, Denny. On the controls is my son, Ryan. We come to you again here today. God, thank you for giving us this day. We're going to talk to you a lot about making America great again. Donald J. Trump, what's happening in our nation. There is a lot of news. We're going to get right into it. But before we start, let me just tell you two things that you need to know. First of all, we are breaking records. I think it's newsletter records. In fact, I just was told by the CEO of the company who we're using to send out our newsletter. He's like, man, your newsletter is legit, because we have a 60% and up open rate when the average industry standard is 24. We are nearly tripling. And that's because the information that we're giving on the 47 report newsletter is just simply unmatched. We're up late at night. We're up before the sun is rising. We are putting everything into this. You need to be a part of it if you're not receiving it. Go to 47report.com. 47, as in President Trump is the 47th president of the United States. Go to 47report.com. Simply put in your email address and you are ready to go. Secondly, if you are a DML CBD customer, we have just announced a 10-day BOGO. We don't do them often. I told you they're sporadic because the economy has been killing everybody. Trump has not had enough time yet to change things up, so we can only do it sporadically. DMLCBD.com/BOGO, B-O-G-O, buy one, get one free, and you will be a happy camper if you get in there, because the other thing too is we hold less inventory these days than we used to. So get in there and get in there now. It ends on February 10, but most of the product will be out within the next couple of days. So DMLCBD.com/BOGO. If you have not started a CBD regimen, DML CBD is the best CBD there is in the entire world. Okay? The entire world. So get in there and start it. Improve your sleep. Get rid of the aches and pains. Boost the immune system. Have some new energy in your life. And of course, get rid of those skin issues that were hammering you for the longest time. My wife, eczema, used to cut it off her elbow with a knife. It was so bad. That's all gone. So the testimonials are long. DMLCBD.com/BOGO. Buy one, get one free. It's on now, and it ends February 10 or when products run out. So, look, I've never been a conspiracy guy, but the conspiracy theorists seem to be winning most of the debates. They come up with these ideas, they come up with these notions, they come up with these beliefs, and everybody laughs at them, and then all of a sudden, oh, you were right. So I've started to say, well, maybe I should be a little bit of the conspiracy guy because they seem to be nailing it. With that said, the better part of me always says, Dennis, you need all the facts before you go throwing something out there. Well, Ryan is about to play a new video that has surfaced of this Black Hawk helicopter hitting the American Airlines jet as it is coming into the airport. And it is impossible for me to think that this was not done on purpose. I'm sorry, I don't want to be the conspiracy guy, but it's impossible for me to think that this was not done on purpose. We need to know. The American people need to know today. All of the people who were in the Black Hawk helicopter, we need to know everybody who was working in or around that Black Hawk helicopter, meaning before it took off and when it was supposed to land. We need to know all the people that were inside that helicopter, who they are, what their social media has said, what their psychiatry reports have revealed, how many times they sat on the PTSD sofa. We need to know. I want to know who they prayed to. I want to know who they slept with. I'm not kidding. I want to know. We want to know. The American people deserve it. And the thing that I have a problem with is that we don't know. Because I would say that the government is fearful that Americans will stop flying. I can tell you for one, I do not fly unless it is an absolute emergency or the sort of vacation that you just can't close your eyes to. But I got to tell you, when I go on that airplane, first thing I'm doing is I'm throwing back 3 scotches because I lived 9/11 and I have my own sense of PTSD from airplanes. Denny can tell you, we came home one time, we went on a vacation. He and I took a separate plane coming home to Florida, and I was literally holding onto his arm like I was the kid and he was the adult. I'm surprised he still has his arm. I didn't rip it off. Now you're going to tell me that when I'm landing, I got to worry about a government-issued helicopter racking into the side of my plane? Now, here's the other thing, too. You've been on a plane before, and if you're like me, or even less than me, and you just have a little apprehension about the flight. Yeah, I'll fly, but I really don't like it. Yeah, I fly, I let those things go through my head, too, but yeah. Think about the times that you've been on a flight. How many times when you're low and you're coming down and you could actually see the runway or you could see everything starts to look normal. You could read the letters on the billboards and all the other different stuff, and you're sitting there and you're like, oh my God, only another minute. Thank God we made this. You're thinking you're home free. It's like when you get off the street and you're pulling into your driveway and you're like, oh, I made it. Imagine all of a sudden as you're pulling into your driveway, bang, you get hit by a garbage truck. I mean, I have a friend who texted me last night and said his wife's friends died on that plane. There were other stories. Beautiful young woman, blonde, gorgeous hair, newly married, baby, gone. A African-American girl, beautiful girl, professor, gone. We need to know what happened. Because when I look at that video, play it again one more time, Ryan. When I look at that video, that absolutely looks like sabotage to me. How do you make that mistake? Trump says that things were done very incorrectly, and we're going to get to some of his videos in a moment. We need to have answers, and we need to have those answers today. That is it. Point blank, today. First video we have, Denny, is of Trump talking about FAA hiring.
Yes, he reads a report, a recent report at that under the Biden administration, there was a heavy effort to hire psychologically compromised people for aviation positions.
I mean, look, Trump comes out and makes his statements, whether they're on Truth Social or they're in the press briefings. And people are ripping him because he's not waiting for the facts. Okay? Listen, if it smells like a snake and it wiggles like a snake and it looks like a snake and hisses like a snake, it's a frickin' snake. Play the video.
And I do want to point out that various articles that appeared prior to my entering office, and here's one. The FAA's diversity push includes focus on hiring people with severe intellectual and psychiatric disabilities. That is amazing. And then it says FAA says people with severe disabilities are most underrepresented segment of the workforce, and they want them in, and they want them, they can be air traffic controllers. I don't think so. This was in January 14th, so that was a week before I entered office. They put a big push to put diversity into the FAA's program. Then another article, the Federal Aviation Administration, this was before I got to office, recently, second term. The FAA is actively recruiting workers who suffer severe intellectual disabilities, psychiatric problems, and other mental and physical conditions under a diversity and inclusion hiring initiative spelled out on the agency's website. Can you imagine?
Now, look, it can wind up being, Dennis, that the report comes back that the air traffic controller, who was in charge of the whole thing, had plenty of sleep the night before and was the top guy in the entire.
But it wasn't.
This is what I'm saying. The entire thing. It could be that this was the Superman of of air traffic control people. And I still would say, I want to have the information that he's given right now. I never knew. We're in the news business. I never knew of the people that they were hiring and the protocols to that. That has got to be one of the most stressful jobs in the world. What do we know about that?
Well, and that's I think in one of our clips we'll have up. Trump even labels it as one of the most elaborate chess games, because he's like, if you're in a control tower and you got 60 planes coming in multiple hours, you got to be on your A game. Now, what we have found out, at least on the air control tower side, is that they were 30% understaffed.
Yep.
And that the person who was in charge of that plane was also in charge of, I believe, helicopters as well. So this one controller was doing the jobs of two people. And there have been reports in the past year that a lot of these control towers at airports are like vehemently understaffed.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's like, I'll simplify this. It's like me telling your mother, hey, man, can you start dinner and can you vacuum the pool at the same time?
Doesn't work.
It doesn't work. You got to focus in on one thing.
And I think, too, is like when you look at that footage, right? I mean, what's probably the most heartbreaking, it was a really devastating, the casualty list. The pilot of the plane was a 28-year-old about to get married, becoming a pilot. So what's heartbreaking is that they were just about to land. They were probably about maybe a minute or two from hitting the ground.
Yeah.
And that, that helicopter hitting into it and the destruction that it caused, it's going to erode trust. After we just came out of a year where Boeing had issues every month with a plane.
Right.
In fact, we ran a poll on the app, and it's probably one of the more divided in half polls. We said, has the DC aircraft collision eroded your trust in air travel? I was shocked by the results, but 54% said yes.
Now you can take a look at what Pete Buttigieg, who used to be the transportation secretary, what he tweeted was that, hey, there was not a single airline accident on our watch. Okay, sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. Is that what he's saying? Because when you have the people that we're talking about working, people with psychological problems, people with disabilities. I mean, I'm all for helping those people as much as possible. You want to give them a job? Give them a job working at the local pet store. Give them a job working at the local pet hospital. Start them low and get them going. You don't put them in charge of airplanes coming in, because that alone is one of the most stressful jobs there is in the world. And so you're going to put somebody who, before they even step in the door, is challenged. Now you're going to challenge them with, like you said, the biggest chess game in the world? No good. Let's play the second clip about Trump here, talking about DEI.
Today, blamed the diversity elements, but then told us that you weren't sure that the controllers made any mistakes. You then said perhaps the helicopter pilots were the ones who made the mistake.
It's all under investigation.
I understand that. That's why I'm trying to figure out how you can come to the conclusion right now that diversity had something to do with this crash.
Because I have common sense, okay? And unfortunately, a lot of people don't. We want brilliant people doing this. This is a major chess game at the highest level. When you have 60 planes coming in during a short period of time, and they're all coming in different directions, and you're dealing with very high-level computer work and very complex computers. And one of the other things I will tell you is that the systems that were built, I was going to rebuild the entire system, and then we had an election that didn't turn out the way it should have.
Dennis, I think you wrote it on the 47 Report newsletter this morning. By the way, 47report.com. Go there and sign up for free. But even if it turns out to be, and I'm going to repeat my words here, that everything in that accident or collision was indeed just bad luck, bad chance, didn't see it, whatever it may be. If there was no real human error involved, it's just one of those things. God wanted it to happen, and that was that. I still like what's happening with Trump right now because he's shining a light on an area of our national safety and national importance that needs to be exposed.
He beats up Pete Buttigieg a little bit too, rightfully so. But,
We have that clip?
Yeah.
Let's play that one of Pete Buttigieg, the former Secretary of Transportation, before that presidential candidate, before that mayor of an Indiana town. Pete Buttigieg, who also is as gay as they come, and he wants everybody to know it.
And apparently a 2028 candidate that people are trying to still push.
A candidate for dog watcher? Go ahead.
The FAA, which is overseen by Secretary Pete Buttigieg, a real winner. That guy's a real winner. Do you know how badly everything's run since he's run the Department of Transportation? He's a disaster. He was a disaster as a mayor. He ran his city into the ground, and he's a disaster now. He's just got a good line of bullshit.
So I was in a doctor's office yesterday when he was actually doing that live. And there was a woman sitting across from me when he said that. And she turned to her husband and said, I am so sick of his face already, and it's only a week. And I just said, you know, every time I sit there and think to myself that 2020 was stolen, I have to remember there's too many people in this country like this woman. Here she is living in Florida. Florida's a conservative state, but we do have our wacky idiots. Look, he called out Pete Buttigieg for what he is. You remember the train derailment in Ohio, how he handled that and all the other different problems, all the delays. Maybe we didn't have any accidents in terms of major things like this on his head. But do you remember how it was? The flight delays were all happening, people laying in airports for days.
Does Pete Buttigieg remember? He was on like paternity leave for half of his thing.
Oh, men can have babies?
Apparently, according to Pete and his husband.
Listen, and it's not just them. I mean, I woke up this morning and everybody, every newsletter is reviewing this sort of thing. And this is why we stand out among everybody else. Every newsletter that I opened this morning, especially from the ones from the left, are all going over what it is that Trump had to say and how the media is absolutely freaking ripping him to shreds. Axios went on this long 500, 600, 800 word essay about how it is that there is a boring script that every president should follow, where he gets up on the podium, says, an investigation is ongoing. We pray for the families. We will give you information as we know it. That's what they want. They say what Trump's doing is irresponsible.
But it's not, because
it's crazy.
No, because and you know what? And Trump's right with the common sense, because we've seen the breadcrumb trail. Even with the FAA, right? Besides the fact that they're trying to hire psychiatric patients, they have made it like a goal to exclude white applicants, because it's another industry like the whole firefighting in California, where apparently it's too many white males in these positions. So what do? They go for psychiatric patients, which just tells you the Biden administration mentality. But they even, I know we have the flashback video, but they tried pushing this black man, I forget his first name, but his last name's Washington, to lead the FAA. And he had to rescind his nomination because you want the best of the best, right? That's the whole message of the Trump administration. And they wanted to put somebody in who couldn't answer a single question that would revolve around that job.
Ryan, can we skip and go to that video? Yeah, go ahead. Play that video. This is a flashback video of who Biden wanted to be leading your flights. Go ahead.
So, Mr. Washington, can you quickly tell me what airspace requires an ADS-B transponder?
Not sure I can answer that question right now.
That's okay. We'll just keep going. So that's a pretty important part. So what are the 6 types of special use airspace that protect this national security that appear on FAA charts?
Sorry, Senator, I cannot answer that question.
Okay. So what are the operational limitations of a pilot flying under basic med?
Senator, I'm not a pilot, so...
but obviously you'd oversee the Federal Aviation Administration. So any idea what those restrictions are under basic med, quickly?
Well, some of the restrictions I think would be high blood pressure. Some of them would be...
It's more like how many passengers per airplane, how many pounds in different categories, and what altitude you can fly under. So, and then amount of knots. It's under 250 knots. So it's not having anything to do with blood pressure. So can you tell me what causes an aircraft to spin or to stall?
Again, Senator, I'm not a pilot.
Okay, let's keep going. What are the 3 aircraft certifications the FAA requires as part of the manufacturing process? Quickly, please. 3 aircraft certifications.
Again, what I would say to that is that one of my first priorities would be to fully implement that Certification Act and report.
You know the
back to
3
this
types,
committee.
Mr. Washington? The 3
No.
types? Okay. Yeah, that's type certificate, production certificate, and airworthiness certificate.
Mhm.
Okay, all right. Let's just keep going, see if we can get lucky here. So can you tell me what the minimum separation distance is for landing and departing airliners during the daytime, Mr. Washington?
I don't want to guess on that, Senator.
Are you familiar with the difference between Part 107 and Part 44809 when it comes to unmanned aerial standards? Unmanned like drones. Are you familiar with the difference?
Yes.
Okay. You know the difference between those 2, Part 44809 and Part 107? Do you know the difference there?
No, I cannot.
That's okay.
It's downright embarrassing.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Now, it also happens too. I remember back with Biden's, the people he wanted to appoint as federal judges across the country. I mean, one of them was asked, "Can you describe what a stay is?" And they couldn't describe what a stay
No.
is. A stay is like asking a cop what an arrest is. A stay is when things stop in the proceedings for a court case. I mean, it is so embarrassing. Don't tell me that the United States of America doesn't have competent people who can be in these positions. And this is the DEI problem. This is why Trump is stopping it.
Of course. I mean, look, Trump and his administration, they get their candidates in. They look for the quality. They look for the experience. They look for how many jobs did you have before this very big position we're giving to you. Biden was just, well, this one's black. This one's a woman. This one's got questionable sexuality. This one's disabled. They're fantastic. And it's like that the mindset there is so diluted. It shouldn't be about diversity. It should be about the best and unity.
And it also is the same thing with the media. I mean, so one more clip here. This is the last clip we have from the Trump press conference. This is with Caitlin Collins from CNN asking basically, just like Axios and New York Times and everybody else, so upset with Trump is doing the wrong thing. Instead of focusing on who were the pilots, what were they doing, why is this happening, it's why is Trump saying things that he's saying. Here is Trump basically shutting down CNN.
You don't even yet know the names of the 67 people who were killed, and you are blaming Democrats and DEI policies and air traffic control and seemingly the member of the U.S. military who was flying that Black Hawk helicopter. Don't you think you're getting ahead of the investigation right now?
No, I don't think so at all. I don't think with the names of the people, you mean the names of the people that are on the plane? You think that's going to make a difference? They are a group of people that have lost their lives. If you want a list of the names, we can give you that. We'll be giving that very soon. We're in coordination with American Airlines. We're in coordination very strongly, obviously, with the military. But I think that's not a very smart question. I'm surprised coming from you.
You know, two different things, Dennis. I want to pull out from the 47 report that's tied to the crash and to what Trump had said that I'd be remiss to not bring up. You know, Caitlin Collins wasn't the only stupid one who asked a question. Somebody actually asked him during the press conference whether or not he went and visited the crash site.
Oh, yeah.
And he went back. Trump answered to him, "What? You want me to go in the water?
I know.
You want me to go swimming? It's frigid water in there. I mean, who does that, right?" And then the second thing that's very important about flight safety, a day before the collision near Reagan National, Republic Airways Flight 4514 had to abort its landing due to a helicopter near its path, air traffic recordings reveal. The jet later landed safely. And now there's more reports showing the same thing has been happening over and over again. So the question becomes, Dennis, has there been a concerted effort to try to do something like this? Or is there such incompetence now in the military who also went DEI and has gotten very, very lax in terms of about who it is that they're giving opportunities to in the military? Could it all be this sort of coming together where we are finally paying for the sins of the Biden DEI and lack of care presidency?
Well, let me ask you, if you were an employer to any literal type of company, would you ever hire a psychiatric patient?
No.
Would you hire one to control the flight of your plane?
Dennis, I
Do
would.
you know what I mean?
I
Like,
wouldn't. I wouldn't get somebody like that to come do housekeeping for me because I would be so afraid that she or he would do something erratic that would destroy something in my house or whatever it may be. Let alone I'm going to put them in the freaking air traffic
Right.
control.
So
Come on.
so the incompetence level is huge. And think about it. Like I didn't, unlike you, I didn't live through 9/11 or I wasn't there.
Mhm.
Up until I think last year or even 2 years ago, I was never fearful of flying. I think the biggest inconvenience was, going through the airport with all the screenings and all that. But I never minded it, like how you've always had like that fear of it. But
I only had it after 9/11.
that's what I mean. So after the Boeing reports of, well, this one fell off of this door fell off of this plane couldn't land properly, it started becoming unease of like, ooh, let me just avoid the Boeing. But this, not that I would say I would never fly again, but this has put like my perspective in a whole different realm of okay, I know maybe the chances are still slim, but now there really is a chance.
I used to fly all the time before 9/11. I mean, all the time, especially in my business. There were 2 flights that I had. Actually, I should say, oh my God, there were 4 flights I had that really said to me, this is not worth it. I'll mention 2. Because incompetence is the driver behind this. The number one was we were flying into San Francisco, and there was a plane next to us, and I could actually see the heads of the other people in the plane. And I'm like, why are we so close? And I raised my hand and I started being loud. And the woman says to me, sir, there are 2 runways. I said, we shouldn't be landing at the same time. And ultimately, that's an air traffic controller, right?
Right.
The second one, again, air traffic controller. We were, in fact, no, it was just your mother and I. This is when we were very young. We went to Bermuda. And apparently the fuel is so expensive in Bermuda that what I think it was American Airlines at the time, they fill up enough fuel to get from JFK to Bermuda to drop off the people, and then they take the people who are going home back to JFK, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we don't refuel when we get to Bermuda. Well, we go into JFK, and there's a holding pattern now. And we don't have enough fuel, but the guy's keeping us up there. And so all of a sudden, we're not in the loop anymore outside JFK. I mean, you could tell when you're leaving, right? Because you're leaving all the stuff in Manhattan. We had to go upstate and land at a military strip. And then when we landed, we're like, what the hell? What's going on? And the guy came on and said we had no choice. We had to come up here because we were absolutely low on fuel. They wouldn't let us land. We're refueling and we're going back. And I'm just like, what the fuck? You got to be kidding me. So it's those sort of things that has been happening forever. And now when you've got people that are problematic in those seats and understaffed and underworked, it is I can't believe it's been 16 years since the last big accident.
And that's why I hate sounding doomsday-ish, but you just laid it out. If you got someone with mental issues and they are overworked in the air control tower and they have one bad day, meaning they just decide either that they're not going to put all their effort in to really try and get planes safely, or even nefariously, if they have that bad mindset of like, I'm over life. Yeah, it's concerning because when you read a report like Trump just did, that's who they're prioritizing with hiring, it makes no sense to me. Those are people who need help, not trying to help people fly.
Yep, I agree with you. Moving on, we have some really interesting clips here. We've got 3 of Trump's main people who are being suggested for different big positions now having their confirmation hearings. And it is a doozy. We're going to start off with RFK Jr. Now, Dennis and Ryan showed a lot from his hearing yesterday. He had to repeat that. I should say yesterday, 2 days ago. He had to repeat another hearing yesterday. We've got a clip here where he and Bernie Sanders are going head to head
again.
And I said the other day, I believe I said it in the newsletter. I don't know if I said it on the show or not. What I'd really like to see is a comprehensive journalistic undercover study of how many people are pushing back against RFK Jr. I want to see those senators and those House members who donates to them. I said it the other day. Let's look at the donation pools from Big Pharma. And so obviously somebody heard that and they went and they took a look at Bernie Sanders, who has been giving RFK Jr. the hardest of times. Here is RFK's response to Bernie Sanders.
I'm going to make America healthier than other countries in the world right now.
Will you guarantee do what every other major country does? It's a simple question.
And by the way, Bernie, the problem of corruption is not just in the federal agencies, it's in Congress too. Almost all the members of this panel are accepting, including yourself, are accepting millions of dollars from the pharmaceutical industry.
Oh, no,
and
no,
protecting
no, no,
their
no.
interests.
Oh, I thought that would come. No. I ran for president like you. I got millions and millions of contributions. They did not come from the executives, not one nickel of PAC money from the pharmaceutical industry. They came from workers.
In 2020, you were the single largest
because I had
receiver of pharmaceutical money
contributions from workers all over this country. Workers,
you were the single,
not a nickel from corporate tax.
You were the single largest acceptor of pharmaceutical dollars.
No, from workers in
1.5 million.
Yeah, out of 200 million. All right, but you have not answered. Last question.
Poor RFK having to do 2 in a row of those hearings, along with Bernie Sanders being there. But he had a good point. He points out the hypocrisy. Bernie and Elizabeth Warren want to give RFK crap when he has never taken money from these people. And yet look at Bernie, $1.5 million from them and trying to claim it's worker donations. But the truth is that they're all in bed with these big pharma companies. It's the reason they're giving him such crap. And it's just pissing me off because we talked about it the other day after his first hearing. RFK really does feel he is uniquely positioned to take this role and try to get Americans out of the chronic disease epidemic. And I know it's important to you too.
I was listening to you and Ryan. I was listening to the program yesterday. Like I said, I was at a doctor's office. So by the time I came home, it was too late for me to join you. But so I listened to your podcast on my headphones as I was walking around. And I was listening to the clips that you were playing of RFK Jr. And I don't agree with a lot of the things he believes in terms of his Democratic leanings. But this is one area where I am 100% in sync with him. And what I heard yesterday, and remember, I can't see it. So that's the beauty of the podcast, when you can't see it and you can only hear it, right? Can you hear the passion in somebody's voice? I mean, RFK is challenged with a bad voice box to begin with, but the man has incredible passion, and he really wants to fix this. The fact that he is praying to God every day for 20 years to be put into a position to where he can fix what's happening to our food and our medicines and everything else like that, as far as I'm concerned, he's manifested himself into this place, and he deserves the position, and I think he's going to do amazing jobs with it. In fact, I'm launching a new newsletter in February based on health and wellness. It's going to be a weekly newsletter that is going to be wrapped around the Make America Healthy Again moniker, because I think that he's going to get the job, and I think it's going to be a runaway train.
From the indications of certain senators that we were worried about, it does, on the Republican side, I should say, but it does seem, if I had to place the guess, I think he's going to get confirmed.
Of course.
And, look, like you said, I feel like the role of Secretary of Health, most people in that position in the past were the big pharma suitors.
Yep.
I think what he could do with this role is really evolve it into something of like shepherding in a healthy movement for the country.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that we're going from Rachel Levine, transgender Rachel Levine, to, fit as can be in his, well, what was it, Ryan, yesterday? 71, RFK Jr.
Yeah.
It's just incredible. And again, just shows the Biden and Trump priority system.
He's going to get in, there's no doubt. Kash Patel is going to have a little bit of a harder job, although I think he's going to get in too. Kash Patel is up for the FBI director's spot. He is a no crap kind of guy.
Yeah.
You are not going to pull something over his eyes. And he is getting a workout in his hearings. We have a clip. We're going to start off this whole thing with Kash Patel with a clip with him going head to head with Democrat Senator from Minnesota, Amy Klobuchar.
Before I call on Senator Lee,
could he just answer the question if he said that the FBI headquarters where they investigate cybercrime and terrorism should be shut down and opened as a deep state,
Mr. Chair,
as a museum? Did he say that the headquarters should be shut down?
Mr. Chair,
I deserve an answer to that question. He is asking to be head of the FBI, and he said that their headquarters should be shut down.
Mr. Chair, parliamentary inquiry.
You got anything you want to say, Mr. Patel, before I go on to Senator Lee?
Simply this. If the best attacks on me are going to be false accusations and grotesque mischaracterizations, the only thing this body is doing is defeating the credibility of the men and women at the FBI. I stood with them here in this country. In every theater of war we have, I was on the ground in service of this nation. And any accusations leveled against me that I would somehow put political bias before the Constitution are grotesquely unfair. And I will have you reminded that I have been endorsed by over 300,000 law enforcement officers to become the next director of the FBI. Let's ask them.
Mr. Chairman, I am quoting his own words from September of 2024. It is his own words. It is not some conspiracy. It is what Mr. Patel actually said himself. Facts matter.
You forget that you had 3 minutes in the next round to say what you just said.
Okay, I'll say them again.
Okay.
You know what it is here is that whether he said it or he didn't say it doesn't matter. Kash Patel is on the Democrat like white on rice, and it doesn't matter who the Democrat is, and they're all very afraid. And if it's Democrats who haven't done anything wrong, let's say Amy Klobuchar hasn't done a damn thing wrong, she's got a lot of friends who have. And so there is going to be a rash of people who are going to be running for Hyde when this guy gets in. I can't wait for him. I think he's going to be as exciting to watch as Trump.
Yes, I agree. You know, he's got a like you said, he's got a spark under him and a vibrancy. And I'd say this too, a lot more transparency than a Christopher Wray. Whereas I think when Trump picked him, that was whispers in his ear to say, go with this choice. So I think even though Amy Klobuchar is saying, what do you mean you're tackling the deep state? We all know what Kash means. He's going to get out the traitorous kind of agents that have been underplaying Trump these past years.
And, you know, it's amazing. Yesterday, before he took the hearing, the stand on the hearings, Forbes magazine, which likes to tout itself off as a conservative paper when they have the opportunity, but when you really read deeper, it's a liberal rag. They wrote a whole hit piece on him, trying to make it sound like he has enriched himself, monetarily wise, because he's pro-Trump. Well, who hasn't?
Yeah.
Fox News, I mean, I'll sit here and I'll sell a Trump t-shirt, right? Fox News will put Trump stuff up on there. Newsmax is selling, my God, it's every day they're selling something with Trump's name on it. Trump is a money machine. And, you know, at the end of the day, you got to make the bills, right? So, yeah, Kash Patel has done things to where he said, hey, you know, go buy this or go buy that. Of course. Why wouldn't he? Why wouldn't he? I mean, nobody's wrong for doing that.
No.
The guy who's on the corner right now selling Trump T-shirts, is he a bad guy? No, he's not. You know, every single one of us that's in this business, one way or another, has to make a living. So, and they can't come up with how much money he's put in his pockets. They just said that they get the sense that he's enriched himself, and then they tried to hit him because he came up with he came up with his own foundation. Like I have the DML Foundation. Now the difference is when I have my foundation, I didn't take any expenses out. 100% of the money that foundation had went to victims, if you want to call it that. And oh, by the way, the money that was in my foundation was from my own pocket. So I'm more than I'd be the most boring audit in the world to be over in 3 seconds. But what they're doing with him is that, oh, well, he raised X amount of money and only this amount went. Well, you can say that of every single last one. Why don't you review the Clinton Foundation instead, right? You got expenses to raise money and to give money out and to keep a foundation going. I mean, the guy's given hundreds of thousands of dollars away. And so, but they don't care. They never talk about the victims who got something or the people who benefited from the money. They're just going to talk about the fact that he had expenses as if they don't have their own. The next video clip here is another senator,
Mazie Hirono.
Mazie Hirono.
In my opinion, the lowest IQ senator there possibly is, because I think
lower than John Fetterman.
Yes,
oh
actually,
God,
because I don't think she writes her own questions as her interns, and she reads them as if she's reading them for the first time.
There you go. Well, she asks a very interesting question, and here you go.
I have a question to see if you can do that. Mr. Patel, did Donald Trump lose the 2020 presidential election? Yes or no?
President Biden's election was certified. He was sworn in and he served as the president of the United States.
Once again, the people who are 100% loyal to President Trump cannot answer that question. It is alarming that you want to be an FBI director who cannot answer a simple question, factual question.
Dude, she's got a brain only a mother can love. And then in addition to that, I look at somebody like that and I said, think about the process that she was campaigning, and somebody actually heard her campaign and said, I'm going to vote for her.
You know, I just got to tell everyone, because when we do these shows, and Ryan can confirm, I have to watch these confirmation hearings sometimes almost in whole so that everyone else doesn't have to, because I mean, her question was just ridiculous, but you can already imagine that there was 10 more of those from the Democrats in all of these hearings.
Yep.
But, you know, like seriously, to your point, I don't understand how some of these senators are consistently hired. And I even know, like on the Rhino side, like Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski, they're going to be tough ones when it comes to these confirmations. And some of the times they get in because of the ranked choice votings and they're just the establishment Rhinos. But, you know, if there's something that really needs reform, we got to do better with the senators that we're putting in. And honestly, term limits really need to be a strong conversation, because this is not to be offensive. One of the things I've noticed when I was watching those hearings yesterday is that some of these senators are almost struggling to sit in their seat and convey their message because they are so old. When you're at that age, and look, you could be in your 80s and have wisdom and still be sharp like RFK, or, you know, at 71. But everyone, right? You know your body better than anyone else would. If you know that you're elected into a position where you're responsible for your constituents and deciding who's going into cabinet positions, and you can't focus because you're shaking or you're struggling or you're reading your question for the first time, you just shouldn't be there. That's my opinion, at least. You got to get people who have the passion and want to vehemently fix things and maybe also write their own questions.
Listen, I'll be the first one to say it too. I mean, we have, I don't know, is it with Tulsi or is it with Kash? No, I think it was with Kash. It was with Kash. Grassley is leading this. Senator Grassley is older than the Bible. I mean, you know, and it's like, when is he going to actually step down and take a few years of retirement before, you know, the Lord turns the lights out? I mean, it's like, come on. And it's to your point, this isn't something that is derogatory against people who are older. By all means, if you're sharp, Trump is 77 years old. I don't even think of his age one time. Biden, I thought of his age every day. So it's at that point now where you've got to say to yourself, we need to have some young blood in there. Turn the page, get these people who've been in for 30, 40, 50 years, get them out. It's time to go. Chuck Schumer has been there forever. That's how corruption starts to fester. So to your point, but we have one more clip of a younger guy named Adam Schiff.
Which, in my opinion, probably the worst, most spineless, weenie little man that I think could possibly in Congress, especially with this interaction we're about to
He's at the
watch.
top of the list. This is an entertaining one. Get your popcorn in the morning. Here you go.
You're being considered for director of the FBI. And here you did no diligence to find out whether people you were associating with now the President of the United States in song were convicted of attacking police officers. Is that who we want running the FBI? I want you to turn around. There are Capitol Police officers behind you. They're guarding us. Take a look at them right now. Turn around.
I'm looking at you. You're talking to me.
No, look at them. I want you to look at them if you can, if you have the courage to look them in the eye, Mr. Patel, and tell them you're proud of what you did. Tell them you're proud that you raised money off of people that assaulted their colleagues, that pepper sprayed them, that beat them with poles. Tell them you're proud of what you did, Mr. Patel. They're right there. They're guarding you today. Tell them how proud you are.
That's an abject lie, and you know it. I've never, ever accepted violence against law enforcement. I've worked with these men and women, as you know,
you
my entire
glorified
life,
it in song,
and I did
Mr.
not
Patel.
make a single dime out of
In
it.
song. Well, let me.
How about you ask them if I have their backs, and let's see about that answer.
Let me ask you this, Mr. Patel. Let me ask you this. If an FBI director promoted a song of people who sprayed pepper spray in the face of an FBI agent, would you say they were fit to be director?
Mr. Schiff?
Yes or no? Would they be fit to be director?
I am fit to be the director of the FBI.
I usually leave the cursing for you, but that man's a little bitch. Adam Schiff, and I said this the other day on the podcast too. Trump pardoned the January 6 prisoners, or we should say hostages.
Mm-hmm.
So January 6 is over. There shouldn't be any more discussion about it. And all Adam Schiff ever does at this point is refer back to it because that's all he can lean on. And I love Kash Patel's statement at the end, like, I will be the director of the FBI. He's going to tell him, oh, go look in the faces of those DC guards or Capitol police officers and tell them what you did. And then he's just like,
The drama.
why don't you go ask them, and that's the point. And Ryan said it yesterday too. Like, these confirmation hearings are so bloviating because these senators love to take up their time and have their 15 minutes of FaceTime, because at the end of the day, the American people, by and large, would never elect them to anything really. So I just think I love that Kash Patel kind of put him in his place.
When the founding fathers created the Constitution and they came up with the whole groundwork of what was going to happen in Washington, D.C., they didn't recognize or even think that there would be a day that there would be television, let alone cable television, let alone social media television, as far as I'm concerned. Clips, right? The hearings used to just be boring and dry, and you'd go through a process. But now, all these people think that they're auditioning for an Oscar. And so that's why they make this big, huge theater thing. And it's actually an embarrassment.
Yeah, he's raising his voice like that. And Kash Patel's just like, what are you doing?
With that said, we're going to go to Tulsi Gabbard now. And she is facing her day in court, so to say. And from what we're hearing, this may be the one confirmation that Trump is going to struggle through, because from what I hear, this is going to be tougher to get her through than Pete Hegseth.
Yeah, I mean, we could play the clip and then I'll kind of give some indication on that.
Well, tell them what Tulsi's going up for and what.
Right. Well, so I mean, she's up for Director of National Intelligence, and I watched her hearing in full yesterday, and she got hit with some contentious questions by Democrats and Republicans.
Mm-hmm. Because she's had stances that people have been
right. But you know what? I like one thing I feel for her, the fact that people, and I'm wearing the Hawaiian shirt today just because I do think she's going to be the one that might get stonewalled. But she's someone who has served our country for decades. I mean, there's no doubt about her service. And every time it's like they resort to, are you a Russian asset? Are you an Assad asset? And even in her opening statement, and we'll play the clip, she's like, you're telling me I'm a puppet master to 5 different people. I'm no one's puppet. So, she had a little bit of a tough hearing yesterday. I think her biggest drawback was answering the Edward Snowden question, which honestly is a very divided question depending on who you ask anyway. Mm-hmm. So I think, and I know Trump is going to go scorched earth to get her in there. Mm-hmm. And I know John Cornyn, who was one of the rhinos, finally came out today and said he would support her. Mm-hmm. But I just would say to our audience, don't be shocked if out of the 3, she might be the one that gets stonewalled, because arguably she's going to have one of the most important positions in the entire country. I mean, she's dealing with the international world and people who want to see us dead. So I think one of her statements in her opening was very powerful, and that's why we cut this clip.
Yeah, before we get to the clip, though, one of the things, I know you ran this poll the other day, and look for it. You ran a poll on the 47 report that asked people, are you okay with Trump putting Democrats in his cabinet?
And I have the results.
Yeah.
76% had said yes, they're okay with it.
They're okay with it.
Yeah.
All right. Let's play her a clip from her hearing.
Before I close, I want to warn the American people who are watching at home. You may hear lies and smears in this hearing that'll challenge my loyalty to and my love for our country. Those who oppose my nomination imply that I am loyal to something or someone other than God, my own conscience, and the Constitution of the United States, accusing me of being Trump's puppet, Putin's puppet, Assad's puppet, a guru's puppet, Modi's puppet, not recognizing the absurdity of simultaneously being the puppet of 5 different puppet masters. The same tactic was used against President Trump and failed. The American people elected President Trump with a decisive victory and mandate for change. The fact is, what truly unsettles my political opponents is I refuse to be their puppet.
I have never, I would be one of the people that would have checked, I don't like him putting Democrats in his cabinet. RFK is the one exception. In fact, I'd almost want to put RFK almost as a advisor, almost like Elon Musk is an advisor, right? But I don't like having Democrats in there because there's a part of me that says once you're a Democrat, you're always a Democrat. And if you're going to change your ways, great, but you need more time than Tulsi.
So would you apply that to Trump?
Well, that's what I said. If you've changed for a long period of time, if you were a Democrat 20 years ago, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, she just ran for president a couple of years ago, Dennis, as a Democrat. So she was on the stage in 2020 going up against Biden, and now all of a sudden, 4 years later, now she's going to come on over to our side, and I'm always a little apprehensive about that. But at the same time that I put out that little disclaimer, I generally like her.
I do.
I generally like her. I think she is out for the better good of the United States, not out for the better good of herself.
Yeah, look, she's a fighter, and she mentioned it in her hearing. I mean, she got abused by federal overreach by getting thrown on the Quiet Skies program. Why? Because she criticized Kamala.
Yeah.
So look, yeah, I understand the apprehension, Democrat background, but I look past that. I look more so at her service and some of her stances. Like, she wants to be in a position where she can protect the president from eternal enemies. And she kind of made that a point because they tried targeting her over, I think it was the FISA, which is
the FISA.
Yeah,
section 702 or something.
702. And her whole point was like, it needs to reform because it was abused in the relation to Carter Page in order to get at Trump. So with her, I think it's not so much that, if she was put in as president, maybe I would have worry. But for her, I think she is very well versed in the international sense of like, how can I handle a Putin? How can I handle Assad?
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, from the art of the surge, from what we see on the campaign trail, not necessarily uncompromising loyalty, but she has that sense of, I want to protect the president that was elected by the people. And
Yes.
I think one of the things that made her leave the Democrat Party was that she saw the abuses that were going on, and she realized she wanted no part of that. So she may have opinions that are, maybe her abortion opinion is different, maybe her immigration opinion is different, but if her role is to just say, hey, protect the secrets and intelligence agencies of our country, and also, I think I love this, she said it in the hearing with Tom Connon, the ODNI was meant to initially be a group, an organization group of just dozens to maybe 100 people, so that way we can consolidate all our intelligence information.
Mm-hmm.
Since the creation, it's now been thousands of people, sub-agencies, leaks, this and that. She wants to fix that. She wants it to be that we are consolidating and we have everything tight-knit.
Like I said, I like her, and the way you describe it, yeah, I would pull the lever for her. I just always feel like I got to sleep with one eye open when we have a former Democrat that was just a Democrat not more than 2 years ago going in there. And I think that may be something that is holding other Republicans from saying they're going to go all in. With that being said, I'm going to read out just a couple of headlines here that were on the 47 report because there's so much news to go on. We can only cover so many, but things that you really would be interested in knowing, we'll tell you some of it right now before we get to our last clip, which we're doing sort of this ongoing thing here. Denny and Ryan are doing about the worst mayors in this nation. There are a lot of them, and they're causing much pain for the Trump administration when it comes to illegal immigration and trying to take care of these bad people who are roaming the streets. But before that, there's a bunch of other things that you need to know. First of all, Trump totally, and I mean totally, slammed Jerome Powell. Jerome Powell is the Fed chair, and yesterday he came out and said, "Yeah, we don't know if we're gonna be lowering interest rates anymore. We're gonna kind of keep them just plain." And it almost sounds like he's just trying to sabotage the Make America Great Again movement for the economy. Just so this way you know, if things go a little slower than we'd like, it ain't Trump's fault. It's the Fed chairs. Mm-hmm. Also, federal prosecutors dropped two of the cases that they had against former co-defendants in the Mar-a-Lago case. These were both employees of Mar-a-Lago, so they're off. Trump's new head of the Federal Commissions Commission, I love this, Communications Commission, is now investigating NPR and PBS and maybe stripping all of their financing, which wouldn't be a bad thing. Trump reaffirmed his expectation that Egypt and Jordan accept displaced Palestinians from Gaza. So that's what he's doing sort of worldwide. And if he doesn't, he's going to be looking at maybe putting some tariffs on them. Gotta love the word tariff, huh? The New York Times also reported late last night that Paramount may actually settle with Trump. Trump has a lawsuit against them against 60 Minutes, which is a Paramount entity, and he sued them for $10 billion. And the thought is that they may try to settle with Trump because they don't want Trump to block a merger that Paramount is doing with another multi-billion-dollar company that was not announced. Also, a handful of senior FBI employees have been told to resign in a matter of days or be fired. I mean, Trump's holding nothing back. Doug Burgum, former Montana governor, was confirmed by the Senate on Thursday to lead the Interior Department.
I think he was North Dakota, wasn't he?
Well, what did I say? Montana? Yeah. Sorry. North Dakota, yes. And then, very interesting, got very little press, but overnight, the U.S. Central Command conducted a targeted airstrike in northwest Syria, which resulted in the death of Mohammed Salah al-Zabir. He's a senior operative for al-Qaeda. And then President Trump also signed an executive order directing federal agencies to deport anti-Semitic resident aliens, including student visa holders who broke U.S. law. The order targets anti-Jewish protesters who committed crimes after Hamas's October 7th terrorist attacks. So that's some pretty good stuff. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on there, and Trump is not kidding around at all. So with that being said, one of the other things that we're going to start taking a huge amount of initiative on, obviously we have expertise on a lot of different topics, but our big thing is always immigration. So the next part of the 47 report newsletter, a new section that we're going to start to unravel next week, is going to be a total dedication to immigration and what's happening, because not only is it very exciting, it's very big, and there's so much information in there that it's hard to get to it all.
You know, me and Ryan have been highlighting some of the worst mayors in America that are resisting the immigration enforcement movement. We actually have a clip from Chicago's mayor, Brandon Johnson.
Let's play it.
Tom Homan showed up in Chicago and within 24 hours found a convicted sex offender who has been living in our city since 2009, flouting the sex offender registry. If he can do this, why can't you?
Because that's their job. That is their job. The federal
Their
government
job's not to keep
has
the
a
people of Chicago
responsibility
safe.
to make sure that individuals who are undocumented, who have been charged with, convicted of a crime, it is the federal government's responsibility to do their part and uphold the law. Our local police department, along with our public health department, along with our other sister agencies, are working to build a better, stronger, safer Chicago. And as we've stated repeatedly, those critical investments, you continue to see the results of those investments as violent crime continues to fall in Chicago. Thank you very much.
You know what? When I watch that video, all I could think to myself is that the people of Chicago are really, I hate to say it, but they're demented. They had Lori Lightfoot, and they had an opportunity to replace Lori Lightfoot, and they went from horrible to horrible on steroids. But because that guy, I mean, if you asked me who is the worst mayor in the United States, I think I'm probably going to struggle not to mention him as the top one. I pray that the Trump administration and our border czar, my favorite guy of all, cracks down on these people and takes them away in handcuffs, because until that happens, they're going to continue talking like tough guys on the microphone.
I would love the handcuffs part, but they are at least getting tough in the sense that they sent subpoenas to all sanctuary city mayors. I think he was on the list, Mayor Adams was on the list, and Michelle Wu from Boston. And I'm probably missing a few others, but they're going to be speaking before Congress to explain their lax behavior towards the illegal immigration crisis.
I'm sure we've got that winner in L.A. as well.
Karen Bass,
yeah,
Cuban communist.
On there too. Yeah. So with that being said, lots of stuff today uncovered. Great job, Ryan, on all the clips. Great job, Dennis, in setting up the show. Just want to go through it one more time with you. We launched our BOGO, the buy one, get one free on DML CBD. It starts today, a day earlier than I expected. January 31 ends February 10, or when products run out. So get in there, dmlcbd.com/BOGO, and get what you want while it's still there. Buy one, get one free. And don't forget, go to 47report.com, 47report.com, and put your email. You'll get the 47 Report in your inbox every morning before 7 a.m. on most days. And then on weekends, we have it as well. Make sure you do that and then share it. It's great. It's the best newsletter that's possibly out there. Like I said, we have an open rate that exceeds 60%, and that is almost 3 times the industry average. Do not miss out what everybody's enjoying. 47report.com. And if you did and you don't see it, it's not in your inbox, because when it comes to your inbox, it's going to say from Mr. Lynch. Make sure you check your spam. folder. And if you are somebody who has a Gmail, check your promotion folder and just slide it in to the inbox. And if nothing else, respond to it. So this way Gmail sees that, oh, I like this. That's it for us. Thank you so much. Oh, you got something else to us?
We have a weekend episode coming out too.
Oh my God, today's Friday. Yes, my new program, Life After 50, which is once a week, and we play it on the weekends. We have an amazing interview. You're going to really like it. It's with a woman named Bethany Burt. She's 52 years old. Just a couple of years ago, she was barely able to feed her children. She was divorced. She's got an amazing story, and now she is a real estate millionaire. And she gives detail on how she did it. And I'm telling you right now, anybody who's out there, whether you're divorced or not, whether you're on your heels or you're not, it's a really interesting interview.
I can confirm it's a whirlwind.
It is.
It's a whirlwind of a tale.
There's
It's
some
great.
good stories there.
Everyone's going to love it.
And the way you get that, not only go to the47report.com, we'll have a link to it, but if you want, you download the DML News app, and it's on there as well. All right, that's it for us. Thank you so much. Until tomorrow with Bethany Burt. May God bless you, your family, these United States, and the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
And today's Team DML blessing goes out to Dan Loken.
All right, Dan, enjoy it.
Get the Dennis Michael Lynch podcast every day by subscribing on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and download the DML News app from the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store for breaking news, merchandise, films, exclusive content, and Team DML.